Welcome to American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Bonati alongside Ethan Youker. Exciting show lined up. Let's get started. So we just observed National Farmers Day on October 12th, and we thank our farmers for providing sustainable food for Americans. But our next guest says that they're actually hurting. Joining us to discuss is Reisinger, author of Land Rich, Cash Poor, My Family's Hope, and the Untold History of the Disappearing American Farmer. Welcome to the show, Brian.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Certainly. So how has the government shutdown affected our farmers?
Well, our farmers are always dealing with rising costs and very difficult economic conditions. And here's what's going on with the government shutdown. There is a tariff package that President Trump would like to move forward because he's taking strong action against other countries that have not been dealing with America's farmers fairly. And he's working to try to make sure that we can get them in line and get them to be trading more fairly. One thing that happens with that is other countries may retaliate, like China has been doing, snubbing the American soybean farmer, for instance. So this tariff aid package is really designed to make sure that those farmers who are impacted by China's unfair trade and China's retaliation have the support they need. And the government shutdown is closing off that opportunity, as well as so many other things that our farmers need.
Well, I actually saw a statistic that I guess 42% of the Department of Agriculture employees have been furloughed during the shutdown. Is that right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And what you're getting at is an even deeper way that the government, the wheels are not turning. So we have now most farmers, I don't speak for all farmers, most farmers just want to make a dollar selling what they can to people who want to buy it, and they're just trying to run a good small business. But there are ways that the government insists on being involved in agriculture, ways that farmers need to register crops with local USDA offices, things like that. So there's all kinds of offices that are closed that farmers are supposed to be able to go and deal with when they need to, just like any citizen going to the DMV, on top of the fact that we have this trade dispute going on and we're not able to move forward with the type of support that has been pledged to farmers because of frankly, the congressional squabbling going on Capitol Hill.
What type of problems have you seen because of deportations, right? So many of those immigrants were working in the farms. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. So many farmers support the goal of securing our border. They also deal with the fact that about half of our farm labor in this country is immigrant labor. And so they're kind of caught in between this situation. Now, there are ways to deal with this. We can secure the border and have a legal workforce secured through farm visa programs. And there's ways to do that. But the challenge that we have is that Congress for decades hasn't solved this problem. And so farmers right now are watching the enforcement actions that are going on closely. And, to the degree that it involves getting criminals out of the country and things like that, there's a lot of farmers cheering that on. They're also wanting to make sure that those folks that are here working have a way to do it and that we have a way to secure a legal workforce. So it's a dilemma that farmers are working through right now, even amongst those who are very supportive of the goal.
There's a planned bailout I'm reading about for farmers, but it actually hasn't been approved. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So that farm bailout goes back to that trade dispute. And so, farmers would be fine with the government not necessarily getting their hands involved and sending money their way. But the reality is that when the government takes an action that impacts farmers, it makes sense for there to be some help. So what the federal government and President Trump have said is, hey, we're dealing with China on this trade dispute. We're playing tough with them to get them to get in line. So we're going to have some of that tariff revenue go toward our farmers who are affected by that. A lot of farmers, whether they like government money or not, say that makes sense. The government is taking action to get tougher with China. The government is going to take some of that tariff revenue and help farmers. Right now, the shutdown is halting that, and that's not able to move forward. And so really what it means is that our federal government is carrying out their trade policy with only one part of it because congressional squabbling is holding up this aid package.
Yeah, well, they play politics with people's livelihoods, and quite honestly, it's sickening. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with Brian Reisinger after this. You are watching American Medicine Today. Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati Spine Procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented the precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati Spine Procedures, they consistently reflect 98.75% patient satisfaction. 80,000 procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients have suffered from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail. Welcome back to American Medicine. Today, we're continuing our discussion with Brian Reisinger. You talk about being a top advisor to conservative leaders. Can you tell us how politics, why politics, and how has it changed over those years?
Absolutely. So, I grew up working with my dad from the time I could walk, and I didn't have his talent for cattle and crops. And so, although I still help out on the farm and work to tell our story, my sisters work and take over the farm. I pursued a career off the farm in writing, and that was in business journalism. Then it was in public policy. And I got the chance to work with Governor Scott Walker, a leader in the National Conservative Movement from Wisconsin, various senators. And what that allowed me to do, although my partisan work is behind me and I now do nonpartisan writing and policy analysis, it allowed me the chance to get up close and personal, seeing the way the wheels of government turn. And here's the reality. Government is deeply involved in agriculture, whether we like it or not. Many farmers wish it were not in many ways, and they were simpler. Again, they just want to, raise their crops, sell crops and products to people who want to buy it. But the government has been involved really since the Great Depression. Mostly what we see is ways that government leaders, policymakers don't necessarily know what's going on the farms on the ground, let alone how it connects to our food supply. So what's happening to our farmers with them getting wiped out at $45,000 a year for the past century, that makes our food more expensive, less healthy, less secure.
And another stat I saw is that, there's 385 million people in America, something like that. And only 1.5% of them are involved in agriculture, which seems insane to me. How can such a small portion of the population feed such a huge population? What do you think the solution is to this farming crisis?
It's such a good point. The big thing is, and I think a lot of your viewers are probably keen on this, focused as they are on health and related issues. The big thing is people trying to take a step toward the American farmer in terms of the way they buy their food. So there's some types of food that we can't do anything other than import. There's some types of food that does need to get shipped across the country on the national supply chain. But there are many steps that people can take to buy fresh local food from local farmers and or from specialty food markets. So the more that farmers are able to sell at local farmers markets to people down the road, to people interested in purchasing fresh food online, and the more that farmers are able to supply specialty food markets as opposed to just commodity crops, it creates more opportunities for our farmers. So we can have more entrepreneur opportunity for our farmers, and we can have more choices for our consumers, especially those who care about where their food comes from.
Now let's turn to your book. So it's Land Rich, Cash Poor. And you yourself grew up on a farm. Is that correct?
I did. Yeah. We're a fourth generation family farm. It started in 1912. And I grew up, with guys driving in the farmyard telling my dad, this farm sold, this farm went under. It was a beautiful way of life, but I knew it was disappearing. And I never understood why. So when I pursued my writing career and when I came full circle around to find a way to help my dad and our family carry our farm forward through my writing, I wanted to answer that question, why are those farms disappearing? And so the book, Land Rich, Cash Poor, investigates those hidden errors of history that are driving that disappearance. And it weaves that with our family story from the Great Depression to today. And like any farm family, we've survived weather that blesses and threatens, farmland accidents, economic upheaval. And we try to tell a raw, honest story about that while shedding light on this issue of our disappearing farms.
Can you tell us where people can learn more? Is there a website they can go to find out more information?
Absolutely. Folks can find me on my website at brian-reisinger.com. And Land Rich, Cash Poor is available in bookstores nationwide. It's also on Amazon, anywhere else you buy books online. And our new paperback edition was just recently out this fall.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being on our show. Again, Brian Reisinger, author of Land Rich, Cash Poor, My Family's Hope, and the Untold Story of the Disappearing American Farmer. Thanks for being on the program.
Thank you for shedding light on these issues. I appreciate it.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. You are watching American Medicine Today. Carolann enjoys an active lifestyle that takes her all across the state of Florida.
I tried real estate that I absolutely loved. I was on my feet and active and, all over the place at the beach in St. Augustine. I sold ranches and, walked 60-something acres with a buyer. Enjoyed that career for about 15 years. I enjoy time with my husband and all the activities that we do together with our two boys, Coda and Rudy. They are a Maltese and a Dachshund, so that's our family here in Spring Hill.
For many patients like Carolann, spine issues develop and worsen gradually over time.
I started experiencing discomfort decades ago. There were times I might have a backache or two, But I just, I kept going, didn't go to a doctor or anything. And it was on and off sciatica where you'd have the pain and I described it as running down my leg and burning out my ankle. It progressively got worse. So for several years, I went to a chiropractor. Every time I get to where I couldn't, bend over and loosen myself up from the sciatic pain, then I would go to him. But in hindsight now, I kind of wish I never did, because I really kind of think all that manipulation might have led to my ultimate diagnosis, which was 2 bulging discs, a herniated disc, spinal stenosis, and sciatica.
When the conservative treatments failed to relieve her pain, she tried to carry on the best she could. This was an effort to avoid undergoing a traditional open back surgery.
But you compensate, when you're going through difficulties. And sometimes in compensating, you kind of forget your life. And then, then sometimes you realize, you think back what you used to be able to do. And then it's a battle, it's a mental battle. It's psychologically depressing.
She had been quietly suffering and was ready to consider surgery when, unexpectedly, an old friend reached out to Carolann and told her about the Bonati Spine Institute.
I had a girlfriend give me a call. I hadn't talked to her in about a year, and she was a former nurse. And out of the blue, Judy called and said, "Hey, girl, what's up?" And, I'm saying, "No, I'm doing this and that and whatever." And I told her about my back issues. And she had gone to Bonati Spine Institute, and they had done wonders for her. I had known Judy since the 90s, and as I said, she was a former nurse, so of course I valued her opinion. And so I decided to give Bonati a call, and she gave me their number.
After speaking to her surgeon on the phone about her case, Carolann scheduled an in-person evaluation.
Walking into Bonati Spine Institute is unbelievable. It's as if they roll out a red carpet. You walk in and you meet Paul, who is the nicest man and greets you as if he's already met you before and is your very good friend. Initially, there was a nurse who they have the spine model, and she comes in and you get educated. It's like 30 minutes of education on your discs, and the pads or whatever in between, and explains and shows you where your problem, is showing up on your MRI. And then you meet with your doctor, who, in my case, any of the doctors there, but he was wonderful. And, was truly interested in me. And, it wasn't like his mind was a million miles away somewhere else. He wasn't having to review the records again. He had already educated himself on my, my test results and my MRI results, and what he needed to do.
The exclusive Bonati Spine procedures are performed incrementally using conscious IV sedation. This keeps the patient comfortable while awake and able to communicate to the surgeon the instant the source of their pain is eliminated.
You can watch on their TV and watch the whole procedure being done. And then the next thing I recalled is in the recovery room. I remember that evening going back to the hotel room, and it was like, I'm waiting for, when's it going to come back? And it didn't.
It's been 4 years since Carolann's procedures, and she's still doing great.
I've had no issues since. I felt so confident there, and me being the scaredy cat that I am, I couldn't recommend it enough. You just can't find a better place. I mean, it's the gold standard of medical care.
To see more stories of recovery just like this, search for the Bonati Spine Institute on YouTube, Rumble, Apple's App Store, Google's Play Store, Roku, and Amazon's Fire TV. Welcome back to American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Bonati alongside Ethan Youker. As Florida moves to become the first state in the U.S. to drop all childhood vaccine requirements, critics have warned of the plan's potentially deadly public health consequences. Joining us to discuss is Dr. Eric Nepute, a national thought leader in the field of health and wellness. Welcome to the show, Dr. Nepute.
Kimberly, thank you very much for having me.
Certainly. So, as Florida residents ourselves, this is big news here, but tell us about this vaccine rollback.
Well, I mean, listen, here's what it really is. And I think it's getting really misconstrued about what's the topic really is. And really what they're saying is that we don't want to force or mandate this on anyone. We want to give people the freedom to choose to do what they want to do, make a decision between their doctors and have a decision between the parents if that's the right thing to do for their patient. So what they're not doing is they're not taking away these vaccinations. They're just not making them mandatory.
The Surgeon General down here in Florida actually compared vaccine mandates to slavery. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, listen, I'm a big fan of it's my body, it's my choice to do whatever I want to do with it, right? And if my choices for myself and my family aren't going to negatively impact other folks' freedoms of their health, then why is it anybody's concern what I do if I vaccinate or not vaccinate? If we remember that a flu shot or a vaccine is there to protect the individual who receives it. So if someone gets a vaccine, they now become immune or have some resilience to that virus or bug or bacteria, so that person's protected. As far as comparing it to slavery, I don't know if I completely would agree with that, but I will tell you this. The one thing that I do agree about, the slavery conversation is without knowledge, our people will perish. And I do believe that we do have a level of, how do I say this, holding back of knowledge and not maybe having the ability to freely speak about the concerns that people have, the risk and benefits of not just vaccines, but other medications.
We also hear about the AMA, which we don't agree with on this show because they're only representative of 17% of surgeons throughout the country. But they're alarmist. Oh my God, sky is falling. Sickness and death will follow. Do you agree?
Well, I would agree with you in the fact that the American Medical Association does not represent not even close to near half, let alone the majority of physicians across the country. And the reality is that is just, in my humble opinion, it's fear mongering. And the reality is that there's a lot more to being healthy than taking vaccines. And that's really what we've always really preached. It's all about how do we improve our body's health? How do we improve our immune system? How do we understand how our body really works so that we can do positive things to help ourselves and help our children?
There's been headlines about measles outbreak and this, that, and the other. And we've actually had, experts and guests on who are like, yeah, it's been a handful of cases. It's not like some major outbreak, but, they're blaming it on parents who don't want to vaccinate their children for these. And there were just a few cases, I believe, in Texas fairly recently. So, a couple dozen around the country or wherever of measles. Does that constitute an outbreak? And do you blame it on anti-vaxxers?
Ethan, more people die every year from Tylenol than they do from the measles outbreaks. And here's what I will tell you. Get a good physician or some common sense that you know how to help. Get some vitamin A and follow the protocols that help people with measles. I mean, it's absolutely fear-mongering if you really look at the true numbers. Yes, we're going to have outbreaks every year. And we really need to get into a world, Ethan, where we're talking about real science and not political science. And I think we need to be real careful with that because a lot of people interject their own politics and their own beliefs and their own fears into things. We saw that during the pandemic, and that's still carrying over to this day.
Nobody has been able to drill down on the truth from, the WHO, the CDC. They all try to keep all that evidence locked away and out of public forum. What do you think will actually happen with childhood disease in the country over the next decade?
Oh, well, I think we are at a crossroads in our community, in our global community, let alone in America. Look, I think it's real simple. If we get back to the basics of common sense of what health really is, if we want our children to be well, it's a simple formula to follow. We have to eat well, and that has to be real food, not ultra-processed food. We have to sleep well and not be overstressed. We have to hydrate well. We have to move well. I mean, we're getting finally back to physical fitness in schools and making it cool to be fit again. I mean, this is some of the most common sense things out there. Listen, I've been a practicing physician for 20 years, and people come to me all the time and they say they don't feel well, or they actually say, I kind of feel like crap. And I say, are you eating bad? Are you sleeping bad? Are you stressing too much? Those are the root causes. So Kimberly, we have an absolute huge opportunity to increase our health for the next couple generations to come. I hope we take advantage of that, but it's going to come through knowledge And then it's going to come through wisdom. Knowledge is power, but it's wisdom, taking what you learn and applying it to your life and realizing that real healthcare is self-care. And the more you know how to take care of yourself and your family, the less you have to participate in a system, Kimberly, that is the third leading cause of death in America.
Well, Dr. Nepute, we're out of time, but thank you for being on the show. You're a national thought leader in the field of health and wellness. Thank you for being on to talk about these vaccine rollbacks.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Have a great day.
Take great care. Well, that's all the time we have for this episode. If you would like to see previous programs, download American Medicine Today to your favorite streaming devices.
If you have any comments or questions, contact us at the numbers below. Or you can tweet at Dr. Bonati using the hashtag American Medicine Today or hashtag AMT. We would like to hear from you.